Alright, Shalom, Shalom. This is your brother Issachar coming back at you with another lesson. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect and to the 144,000 scattered across the four corners of the earth. Shalom to you. Alright, today's lesson, we're going to go into, give thanks to the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Because through all your trials, testing, alright, with everything that you're learning, with everything, every time, you eat your food, you know what I'm saying, your children are safe. You have a roof over your head. The basics. Don't forget that the Lord provided all that for you. So don't forget to thank the Lord. All right, because a lot of you just kind of do a lot of complaining. A lot of whining. And I understand. A lot of you out there are going through stuff. We all are. But, don't forget to ask the Lord for what you need and thank Him, Even when you're going through your hell, through your tribulations, your testing, thank the Lord, because the Lord is the Lord has to beat you down to build you back up. It's the condition of the battle, because, the Lord is really those who He cares about. There's different levels to this thing, but the Lord, He really cares about His hopeful elect. The hopeful elect are those who are going to receive salvation from the Lord. Okay, of the nation of Israel, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and those who look like the other nations, who are scattered around the world, who believe on the Lord. Okay, and sincerely, you guys are going to, the Lord is going to build you up, okay, in due time. Okay, He's going to build you up in due time. Oh, absolutely. Psalms 105:1, and we're going to go on down. Oh, give thanks to the Lord. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Call upon His name. Make known His deeds among the people. Alright, so call upon His name. Yeah, not His title. Okay, not where, the scriptures doesn't tell us, whatever you feel, is whatever you feel, that's good enough, as long as you're thinking about Him, that's cool with the Lord. No, you have to call upon His name. See that? And now we know who the Lord's name is, because it's not like it's a mystery now. It's because it's known, because the Lord has He's returning back unto His children, and the Lord has starting with Abba Bivens 1969, all right, and the elders of a great millstone, the apostles, now we got the truth. Now we know what the true names are. See that? So that's very important, the names. I can't really, stress that enough, to push that enough. The names are extremely important, because a lot of people in this world, they have that pride demon on them, They think that it's okay just because they feel, in their mind, like, oh, well, I'm paying my bills, I'm taking care of my family. I'm like, yeah, that's fine in this world, but remember, the Lord don't care about that. All right, the Lord does, take, consideration that you're taking care of your family and stuff. But the fact that you're a manager at your job, or you're a supervisor and you're moving up the ladder, the Lord don't care about that. All right, and remember, this is This is Esau's kingdom, the Edomites' kingdom. You see that? I mean, if you're doing good for yourself and stuff like that and your family, I mean, that's good and all, but the Lord wants to hear you call him by his name. And a lot of people get so caught up in this world, and it's understandable, because you're just trying to make a best living for yourself, and once you're in your routine, once you have your job, your car payments, you gotta go out to dinner with your wife, your girlfriend, or your husband, your boyfriend, every now and then. You take the children to amusement parks. Things can get very busy, especially if you have your kids, your children in sports. It's life, here, because you got to constantly pay bills. Okay, then what? You got a family barbecue, something comes up, so it's just constant, you work, you come home, eat dinner, you got your routine, so so a lot of people are in that routine, so they, just because, they're their own boss, in work, and they're doing good for themselves, which is a good thing, but remember, that doesn't mean that it's okay just to, I can call the Lord whatever I want because at least I'm doing good. That part don't matter. It's a good thing that you're doing good for yourself, yes, but that will make you complacent, because now you feel that a lot of people feel they feel that, okay, well, I'm cool because you think because you say so, because you got your bills paid, you got everything organized, and whatever you call, a lot of people think, well, whatever I call on the Lord, that's all right, because everything else is squared away, so I'm straight. The Lord understands. No, he don't. Okay, the Lord wants to hear you call him by his name, especially now that the truth is out there. It's not like it's not out there and it's like, hey, well, how am I supposed to know? It's out there now, because the whole world, this word has went out throughout the four corners of the earth, so there's no excuse. The Father's name is Yahweh, who the world stubbornly calls God and Jehovah. His correct name is Yahweh. All right, and his only begotten Son, our Lord and Savior, the Messiah, his name is Yahweh Shai. Okay, it's because a lot of people throw his name around, like, oh yeah, his name is Jesus, Yahweh, Yahusha. It's like, no, it's not 3 or 4 names, or something like that. His name is Yahweh Shai. It's extremely important. It's extremely important. Just like a phone number, just like a phone number. If every number is not right, you're not going to call that person. Same thing with the email. If every letter, capital, and if every character is not right on that email, you're not going to send that email. Same thing with like a 3 combination lock. If every number is not on point, you're not going to open up that lock. You know what I'm saying? All right, so it's the same deal. So you have to call on the Lord's name. This is why I'm not gonna go too far into it, but I just gotta mention it because it's happening out there. So you gotta kind of mention it. You know what I'm saying? That way it's known out there. But when these agents infiltrate these false Israelite groups, okay, that's the first thing they do is they take away the name. Okay, because if you notice, there's not a whole lot of people out there pushing that the name of the Lord is Yahweh Shai. Okay, there's not a whole lot of people out there. Why is that? Because the majority of people have been infiltrated. IOIC, Sakari, they're all sellouts. And that's for real. You ain't just talking crap and, hey, these guys, they ain't got it. No, they're sellouts 100%. You know what I mean? You're gonna get the true facts from the true teachers of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. You know what I'm saying? It's not just talking trash and putting them down. It's not even about that. Because at the end of the day, they're slaves just like us. They're Israelites just like us. You know what I'm saying? We're not. It's not like we're better than them. And no, it's just that the information that they're putting out there is not 100% correct. You see, and that's very detrimental to the people's health, because you're not calling on the Lord's name. You see, so that's the difference. When these Israelites like to get in, like in a battle. They like to get in all, oh, I told him, and oh, hey, it's IOIC versus Akari. That shit's all stupid, man. It's all retarded. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, look at the big picture. We're still in slavery. Esau's still gonna come after the Israelites, okay? Especially the prophets, but the believers, and not only that. Let's say like you don't even believe in the Lord. The elites are coming for every Israelite. Okay, he has an extermination policy on every Israelite out there, including you sellouts. Okay, because you guys are gonna go too. He's just using the so-called white man is just using you guys, the 2/3, as agents to help them build a case on the true believers. And then once you do that, then they're gonna turn around and take you guys out too. Facts. The same thing they did to the Buffalo Soldiers, okay, to our people, remember? Because how did they take down Gad? All right, the so-called North American Indians, because they had a hard time taking down our brothers and sisters, the tribe of Gad, the tribe of Reuben, they're swift, Hey, some people say that the tribe of Gad, the Gadites, they were, the Apache tribe, shit, they said that, they were mightier than the Spartans. So they were very mighty. They were very hard to take out. So this is why the so-called white man, he needed to, the Edomites, they needed to hire our own people. They're called Buffalo Soldiers. Okay, so our own people, joined forces. Imagine, with the so-called white man, to help take our own people down. And then what happened? What did Esau do to those Buffalo Soldiers who helped the so-called white man subject our people? He put them on reservations, and now look at them. You know what I'm saying? See, same thing. Remember, there's no new thing underneath the sun. All right, there's no new thing underneath the sun. It's the same way this devil operates. Same thing. Okay, because if the so-called white man likes you, it's only because you do a good job for him or you entertain him. All right, but he don't. He don't really. One thing is for sure is he doesn't respect you. Because the Edomites were created to hate the Israelites. That's something you guys gotta understand out there. Yeah, they may pat you on the back and say that they like you, but they don't. Because as soon as you don't do a job for them or entertain them, they look at you like, oh, like you're good for nothing. See, you gotta do something for them, in order for them to be, all right with you. See, Psalms 105:2. Sing unto him, sing psalms unto him. Talk ye of all his wondrous works. See that? Because man, just look at the ocean. Look at the planet Earth. Look at all the animals. Look at how many people there are out there, with all these different, personalities, characteristics. Look at all these different hairstyles, look at all these different colored, people's skin, and, look at everyone's characteristics and all that, Some people are funny, some people are smart. So, it's just the way it is, it's just, look at all the different faces out there. Look at all the different characteristics, It's just the way it is. I mean, just look at that, there's, is that not like a magnificent feature in itself? It's a lot to consider when you really, sit down and think about it, and think about, everything that, the creation. Psalms 105 and, Psalms 105:3. Glory ye in his holy name, because his name is separate. Let the heart of them rejoice that seek the Lord. Yeah, so rejoice. Remember that, because the Israelites are about to go through some hardships, pretty bad. Because remember, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. This is why the Lord is building those of the hopeful elect, building you guys up. Because those that are not of the hopeful elect, you're gonna be casted aside. You're gonna be burnt up, and you're gonna fold like a lawn chair. But the hopeful elect are just gonna keep on getting stronger and stronger. They're gonna keep on. They're gonna have that faith. You know, that's one thing about the hopeful elect is you can't break their faith because they belong to the Lord. So it doesn't matter what our enemies do to them. You know, I mean, yeah, you may slow them down and fire them from their jobs and take away this or that, but their faith is still right there. They're still calling on Yahweh Bashim Yahushai no matter what. See, because they're of the Lord's. And plus this place don't matter, because everything here is temporarily, and the bankers own everything, because at any given point, your car can get taken, your house can get taken. People don't even remember, they don't even own the land that they have these houses on, because nobody here in America has the Lodio title. That's why everybody pays property tax, because these elites, the international bankers, they own America. America's a corporation ran by them. See that? So if you don't have the Lodio title, you don't own that land. You may think like, oh no, I paid it all. This is my spot. No, that's that's what you think. It's a illusion. That's why these Edomites, they're very crafty, because they give the masses out there think that that the Constitution is real, that they have rights and all that these leaders actually care about them. They don't, and the masses are gonna find that out the hard way when these elites roll out with their UN troops, their draconian laws, legislation, and executive orders. See that? You don't have a big number, but you have a good number out there. Like the American Patriots. You have American Bible Belts. You have truth seekers out there that are waking up to like hey man, this is not right. Like they know what's going on. You see, and why is that? Because they research. Something about one thing about the so-called white man is that he reads and she reads. That's how you get information. You have to do research. You don't gotta go all too deep. But you gotta do some searching. If you just watch the mainstream media and all that, you're never gonna get ahead of the curve. You're never gonna know what's really going on. This is why the Lord gave us the internet. Even one of the Rockefellers said that the internet, they should have never had invented it. Because why? Because of this internet, now we know all things. We have all this information. All you gotta do is just Google stuff. You learn about all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Child trafficking. Illuminati. The deal. All that stuff. We're not gonna go too further into detail, but those of you that are in the know, what's going on. Okay. What's going on. These bankers. Like you get a lot of information from these alternative news medias. You learn a lot from the internet, but that's thanks to the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. See that? Because it wasn't up to the Rockefellers, and because they get mad. There's that one Rockefeller, I forgot his first name, but he goes, oh man, we should have never invented the internet. But it wasn't up to that. It wasn't up to that cracker. You know what I'm saying? It was up to the Lord, because by that, remember, his children, the elect, are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Like it tells us, the scriptures tells us in St. Matthew, chapter 24, verse 30 and 31. How the Lord's going to send his angels to pick up the hopeful elect. You see? So this is something that you got to understand. Oh, absolutely. Psalms 105 and verse 4. Seek the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and his strength. Seek his face evermore. Remember his marvelous works that he had done, his wonders. See? And the judgments of his mouth. Right, because it's a wonder. I mean, you imagine how the earth was created. Look at how big the ocean is. Statistics and these astrologers and scientists say that they only discovered 5% of the ocean. You imagine that? 5%. So there's 95% that's undiscovered. So can you imagine what's down there? What's lurking down there? See that? See? So that's because it's marvelous works. It's a wonder. Like, man, look at all the stars and galaxies, and it just goes on and on and on. There's even different realms. It's mass. It's big. It's huge. So it's a wonder. Like, dang, like how did this come about? You see? All right, and remember those prophets who are out there teaching are not, the real prophets. They're not ordinary men, okay? Because the 144,000 help Yahushua and the angels create you mortals, the animals, all the plants, and the planets. Facts. So those are not ordinary men. They have very old spirits. They go way back with the Lord, way back before the earth was even created. We're talking way back, way back, way back. So this is how you know that these Edomites and heathens, they don't have a chance in hell. With their teams, they're gonna get smashed. They're gonna get smashed. We're talking bad. Like one of the worst beatdowns in history. Very bad. Because although there's a lot of teams out here, agents. What I'm saying? Because there's good agents. Remember that. There's good agents who are learning. What I'm saying? But you have a lot of corrupt agents. Who have been infiltrated by the elites, that are in CIA and FBI. Do you have cool agents that are learning in CIA and FBI? Absolutely, and they're learning that what's going on with this New World Order agenda. But you have a lot of sellouts out there, a lot, okay, a lot out there. It's just the way it is. We're not gonna dig too deep into that. It's just you got people out there just gotta know what's going on out there. It's just like good cop, bad cop. You got people who are good, who strive for law and order, and you got people who are corrupt, who get paid off. You know the deal. You know what I'm saying? Psalms 105 and let's see, and 6. O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, okay, his servant Abraham, ye children of Jacob, his chosen. Right, because the 12 tribes of Israel, we go back to the 12 sons of Jacob, his chosen. All right, because the sons of Jacob are the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, the 12 sons of Jacob, right there, to let you know, his chosen, because you were chosen. You're a special people, because out of all nations, the Israelites are the sons and daughters of God, of Yahweh. And that's literal. See, that the world didn't have a problem when it was these pasty ass crackers, right? With big noses, the small hats. But now it's a problem because the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Now it's a problem. You see? You know what I mean? This is why. The Lord's coming back to save His children. And remember that, it doesn't matter, because the heathens are raging, it's very hard for them to understand and to comprehend that the Lord looks like a so-called black man, but so what? They're going to slavery. Remember, it doesn't matter how mad they get. Yeah, they are going to come down on a lot of Israelites. They're going to persecute you. Some people are even going to get their heads chopped off, but so what? Okay, as soon as the Lord gets here, He's going to raise the elect. He's going to bring you right back to life. Remember, like the Lord came back to life 3 days later? Okay, remember how the Lord came back to life 3 days later? Same thing with the hopeful elect. Okay, the hopeful elect are going to come back, are those who have to be martyrs. Okay, the Lord is going to raise you back up. You're going to be the first ones in those ships. Oh, absolutely. The first ones in those ships. You're going to have a window seat right next to the Lord. Psalms 105 and verse 7. He is the Lord, our power, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. His judgments are in all the earth. he had remembered his covenant, his contract, forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations. See, which covenant he made with Abraham, and his oath unto Isaac. See that? So right there shows us and tells us, okay, his oath, all right, which he made unto Isaac. So it's an oath, it's a promise, it's a covenant. You see? All right, this is what you have to understand. So that covenant means a contract. Okay, so it's a promise, it's a contract. You know, so this is how you know that, you know, nobody can change it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can change it, you know, because it's of the Lord. You know, so you know who can change, you know, the Lord's plans? You know, not many. You know, because it's of the Lord. You see? All right. So this is how you know, because this is the Lord's contract between him and the Israelites. You see? All right. So it's a very, you know, it's a very beautiful thing, because you know that, you know, people can't they can't change it. These nations, you know, they're gonna try the same thing all over again, you know, like Nimrod did, come all together, but it's you know, it's gonna fail, you know, because it's of the Lord. Psalms 105 and verse 10, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant. See that, you guys? Because it's an everlasting covenant. Because once the Lord gets here, the Israelites are gonna rule forever. Okay, the Edomites are not gonna, you know, try to raise up in slavery and take the Israelites down. That's it. You know, this is why the Edomites are nervous. You know, because they know, like, oh crap. You know, because the heathens, they're gonna get their land back, but the Edomites, that's it. You know, they're gonna be done away forever. You know, so this is why they're gonna go bananas out here. You know, because can you imagine? They know that they're about to go into slavery. You know, and that they're about to be exterminated after that. They know that. You know, so you imagine. So shoot, this is why the top elites and these militias, they're literally gonna try to kill every Israelite out here. You know, because imagine how mad they are. You got to really think about that. You know, and these Israelites out here like, oh yeah, the so-called white man, he's cool. You just wait, you know. Yeah, your neighbor may be cool because he's over here working a 9 to 5 just like you, you know, paying taxes. He has a social security card because he's a slave just like you. This is how messed up the Edomites are. They're so messed up that they even enslave their own people. Because you got the Edomites living right next to us, you know, working the same jobs just like us with the Social Security and the birth certificate. You know, this is their kingdom, you know. They should at least be separated from us. You know what I'm saying? But just to show you how vile the so-called white man is, that they even enslave their own people, you know, because they're in the same boat just like us. You know, they eat the same restaurants like us. They're out here right with us. You know, some might be doing a little better, you know, might move to the suburbs and, you know, go eat at a little bit more expensive restaurants, but they're here too, you know, they're paying taxes, they have a social security card, a driver's license, they're a slave just like us. Imagine that. You know, that's how much the elites, they don't give a damn about not even their own people, because there should be no reason why the so-called white man is working right next to us. You know, we're in captivity, you know, but that's just to show you, you know, how vile the elites are. They don't give a damn. They enslave their own people too, because the so-called white man, they're out here struggling too, you know, out here homeless and stuff. You know, yeah, you got nurses and stuff like that, you know, that make good money, that live in their cars, you know, and they're so-called white women, so-called white men, you know, that, you know, they're homeless, you know, in their own kingdom. Just to show you that these elites must and will be taken down, you know. Psalms 105 and verse 11, saying unto thee, I will give thee the land of Canaan and the lot of your inheritance. Yeah, because we're going to get our land back, the land of Canaan. When they were but a few men in number, yea, very few, and strangers in it, when they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another. Right, because, these heathens right now are occupying our land. He suffered no man to do them wrong, yea, he reproved kings for their sakes. Yeah, because now these elites are being reproved, they're being rebuked, by the men of the Lord. Verse 15, Psalms 105 and 15, saying, touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm. See that? Okay. So, so those who are wishing harm on the prophets, now they have death angels following them, and the Lord's going to take them out one by one. All right? Because you do have teams out there who, remember that you have top elite teams out there on the left-hand side who are specifically trying to take out the 144, the men of the Lord, That's like on a hush-hush, but that's big level right there. All right? For reals. You got top elite teams out there, because they know, because these witches tell them, and the demons tell the witches, so they know who's who, you know what I'm saying? So this is why they spend a lot of money on these teams and agents to try to actually take out the men of the Lord, and they are, because right now, they're plotting, cloning people, what I'm saying, surrounding the men of the Lord, having people sell out to, FBI and stuff, work with agents, but pretty soon Esau's gonna make his move, you know what I'm saying? Facts, but that's all right, the angels are right there, you know what I'm saying? So that's why we're in a very exciting time, because the elites have, the true men of the Lord completely surrounded by a bunch of teams, but that's all right, because those teams are surrounded by a bunch of angels and death angels, you know what I'm saying? So Esau, yeah, you can step up to get beat down whenever you want, step up to get bitch slapped, straight up, because the prophets ain't hiding from nobody. The prophets are going to keep on just being out there nonstop, they don't care about death threats, surrounded, by people who sold them out, they're building a case on them. Are the prophets slowing down? Hell no, they're out there with a smile, because you're nothing to fear, because your time is up, Esau. You're going to slavery, and you're going down. That's the thing, you're going down, and your retarded robots and clones are just going to get bitch slapped out here by the angels and the 144,000. Facts. And as soon as the so-called white man makes his move, the sooner he makes his move, the sooner he's going to find that out. So with that's it on today's lesson, on thank the Lord. All right? Thank the Lord, for you having eyes and ears to hear. Because if you can receive this message, then, you're very lucky, because the Lord gave you that faith. Because not everybody has faith, because the masses out there, when they're being told the word, when the word of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, is being taught, the majority of people out there don't want to hear it, They don't want to hear it, you see? So, this is something that, this is something that, you got to understand. Okay? This is something that you got to understand, that, those who are, out there, okay, a lot of people don't have, that faith. All right, and you can't buy faith. You can't go to the store and say, all right, you know what, let me buy, a half a pound of faith. It's not happening. Faith is given to you from up above. So with that, thank the Lord. Keep the faith on your feet, soldier. Shalom.